The sharp tang of burning cedar and sagebrush clawed at Ethan Caldwell's throat, a bitter reminder of how relentless this fire season had been. From the cockpit of the CH-54 Tari, fondly called the Sky Beast by its crew, the rolling hills of the Cascadia Range below were a nightmare tapestry of furious orange, blood-red flames, and thick black smoke that seemed to choke the twilight sky. The helicopter's deep, bone-rattling hum usually grounded Ethan, a seasoned VY-8er, but tonight it only tightened the coil of dread in his chest. He wasn't flying this mission. He was here to watch, to scrutinize a joint operation between agencies battling the timberline blaze, a monster fire that had erupted under howling Chinook winds and was now clawing its way toward Willow Creek Meadows, a tidy new neighborhood perched too close to the untamed wilderness. "Got anything, Sarah?" Ethan's voice was steady, honed to project calm even as his pulse raced. He adjusted his headset, the static of radio chatter a chaotic backdrop. Captain Sarah Nguyen, her dark hair tied back tightly, her face a mask of focus, shook her head. Her gloved hands gripped the controls with unwavering precision. "Negative, boss. Smoke's too heavy to spot the primary pickup point. Ground crew says Thompson's still in his house, southwest corner of the sub-DVY Shown. Main road's going fires jumped it." Retired Staff Sergeant Daniel Thompson, 70, a double amputee from a long-ago war in a sweltering jungle half a world away, was trapped. Ethan had skimmed his file earlier. A stubborn, self-reliant man whose prosthetic legs made escape impossible as the flames closed in. What about that open field just east of his place? Ethan pointed through the reinforced glass at a patch of green, an odd oasis amid the encroaching inferno, framed by neat rows of houses and, bizarrely, a gleaming black metal fence on its northern edge. Sarah tilted the chopper, its rotors slicing through turbulent air. "That's our shot, sir. If we can dodge that smoke plume, it's tight but manageable. Ground says it's mostly clear except for some HOA hotshot playing gatekeeper." Her voice dripped with dry sarcasm. "Hope he gets what emergency means." As they descended, the field sharpened into VYEW, the only VY-able landing spot. But there, dead center, stood a man in a pressed Navy uniform, a shiny silver badge pinned to his chest, arms flailing like he was directing traffic in a war zone. Even from 200 feet up, his gestures screamed defiance. "Is this guy for real?" Sarah muttered, her tone a mix of disbelief and irritation. "He's trying to wave us off?" The man, soon to be known as Victor Grayson, head of Willow Creek Meadows HOA security, planted himself like a bulldog, glaring up at a multi-ton rescue helicopter sent to save a life. That black fence, a symbol of suburban perfection, seemed to be his hill to die on. Ethan felt a surge of cold fury. "Get us down, Captain," he said, his voice clipped. "As fast and safe as you can. Looks like we've got a live test of human stupidity." Ethan's role tonight was supposed to be simple, an observer with a generic emergency air support ID clipped to his fire-resistant suit. But as Director of State Aviation, a title he kept under wraps to avoid posturing, he knew this was no mere annoyance. This was sabotage of a life-or-death mission. His usual world was one of orderly chaos meetings in his Olympia office, walls lined with flight charts and model planes, a nod to a boyhood dream that had carried him through combat zones. He'd flown Black Hawks in Afghan sandstorms, medevacs under gunfire, experiences that burned into him a fierce belief in the sanctity of life and a VY-ation's role in SAVYing it. Now, he oversaw Washington's skies, ensuring they stayed open for emergencies like this. He'd joined this flight last minute, wanting a front-row seat to how resources held up against a beast like the timberline blaze. He hadn't expected a showdown with a petty tyrant. Willow Creek Meadows was a place Ethan knew by rumor, a shiny new community billed as an escape from city grit, with an HOA notorious for its iron grip on appearances. Stories floated of fines for unapproved mailboxes or battles over garden trellises. Victor Grayson, a former rent-a-cop, had found his kingdom here, cruising the streets in a souped-up golf cart, his badge a self-awarded crown. His rulebook was his gospel, and residents rarely dared challenge it. Daniel Thompson had moved here 3 years ago, seeking quiet after a life of service. His modest ranch house, kept pristine, was his refuge. His prosthetics, though reliable, slowed him on rough ground. He'd packed a bag when evacuation warnings came, but the fire moved like a predator, a stray spark igniting the dry ravine behind his home, cutting off his escape before mandatory orders hit. His 911 calls flagged him as critical, making his rescue urgent. The sky beast wasn't subtle. As Sarah guided it toward the field, its downdraft whipped the bordering pines into a frenzy, scattering leaves and dust. Victor Grayson stood firm, his face now clear a scowl of righteous anger. He was yelling, his words drowned by the roar of turbines. "He's actually trying to stop us," Sarah said, her voice edged with astonishment. She eased the chopper into a low hover, the rotor wash flattening the grass around Grayson, who stumbled but held his ground. The heat from the nearing fire seeped into the cockpit, a dry, suffocating wave. "Radio him," Ethan ordered. "Standard emergency channel. Tell him we're state responders, life-threatening situation, landing required now." The co-pilot, a rookie guardsman named Jenkins, fumbled the comms, his eyes wide. "Yes, sir." He sent the message, voice shaky. Grayson, radio clipped to his belt, listened briefly, then barked a reply, his glare locked on the chopper. He didn't budge. "No answer, sir," Jenkins reported, stunned. "He says, we're trespassing on private property. Says he'll fine us if we mess up the grass." Ethan stared at Grayson. The man was a cartoon VY Lane, yet the danger he posed was deadly real. Every second squandered brought the fire closer to Thompson's home, its orange glow now VY sible through the trees at the end of his street. "Sarah," Ethan said, his decision firm. "There's a spot to his left, near those fancy bushes. Can you set us down? It's tight, but he's not standing there." "It'll be a wild ride, Director," Sarah replied, a grim smirk breaking through. "Those bushes are toast. Hope they're not award winners." "Bushes grow back," Ethan said flatly. "Thompson doesn't." The landing was rough, the sky beast thudding onto uneven ground, one skid sinking into soft soil near a bed of sculpted lawn ornate roses. The rotor wash shredded the landscaping, leaves and petals swirling in chaos. As the ramp lowered, Grayson charged forward, his face purple with rage. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he roared, his voice cutting through the fading whine of the engines. "This is HOA property. You can't just drop a damn tank here. That's a violation of Bylaw 4, Section B, unauthorized vehicles." Ethan strode down the ramp with two crew members, his face a mask of restraint. "Sir, we're state emergency responders. A disabled resident is trapped 200 yards from here. We're evacuating him. I don't give a damn if the governor's trapped." Grayson jabbed a finger at the black fence, inches from the tail rotor. "You're risking HOA property. That fence cost due law 15,000 custom aluminum. If your machine scratches it, your department's footing the bill." One of the crew, a paramedic named Lopez, muttered, 15 grand for a fence while a guy's burning. Nice priorities. Ethan ignored the quip, though he agreed. "Sir, a man's life is on the line. Step aside and let us through." He kept his tone even, hoping urgency would break through Grayson's obsession. Grayson puffed up. "I'm head of security for Willow Creek Meadows. This field is for residents only. You're not authorized to wreck our landscaping." He glared at the trampled grass and mangled roses. The fire's roar grew louder, smoke curling over the rooftops, the air glowing an eerie amber. "We don't have time for this," Ethan snapped, his patience fraying. He stepped toward the path to Thompson Street. Grayson moved to block him, surprisingly nimble. "I'm not VYing access through HOA land for this stunt. Find another way." "Another way?" Ethan's voice was laced with disbelief. "The roads are blocked by fire. This is the only way. Are you trying to kill a man?" "I'm upholding Willow Creek's rules." Grayson shot back, chin high. "Rules that keep this place CIVY list. Maybe if Thompson had evacuated sooner, we wouldn't be here." The callousness hit Ethan like a punch. His comm cracked. "He's a disabled veteran, Mr. Grayson. His condition slows him down. That's why we're here. Step aside, or I'll have you charged with obstructing a rescue." Grayson laughed, a harsh bark. "Threats? I eat punks like you for breakfast. You flyboys think you can do whatever you want. Not here. Not on my turf. I'm calling the sheriff." He grabbed his radio, smirking. This was beyond idiocy. It was dangerous. Waiting for deputies could doom Thompson. The heat was oppressive, smoke stinging their eyes. "Captain Gwyn," Ethan said into his headset, "call the county sheriff. Tell them we've got a man blocking a critical air rescue at Willow Creek Meadows. State Aviation directors on site. We need backup now." "Copy, Director," Sarah replied, "all business." Grayson caught the title and froze, his radio halfway to his mouth. "State Aviation Director? What's that supposed to mean? You're just a glorified bus driver." Ethan pulled his real ID from his suit, flipping open the leather wallet to reveal his official badge. "Mr. Grayson, I'm Ethan Caldwell, Director of Aviation for Washington State. You're endangering a man's life by blocking this evacuation. This is your last chance to cooperate, or I'll have you arrested for obstruction, endangerment, and whatever else the DA can pin on you." Grayson's face paled, his jaw slackening. His hand shook, his badge looking cheap next to Ethan's. For a moment, Ethan thought he'd back down. But then Grayson's expression hardened, defiance flaring. "I don't care who you are. This is HOA property. There are protocols, forms, insurance waivers." "Forms." Ethan's voice was a low growl. "While a man burns?" Before he could act, sirens wailed, cutting through the smoke. Two sheriff's cruisers roared into the field, tires chewing up the grass, lights flashing. Deputies leapt out, sizing up the scene. The towering helicopter, Ethan's crew in fire gear, Grayson's unhinged stance, and the fire's ominous glow. "What's going on?" the lead deputy, Sergeant Torres, demanded, hand near his holster. "Sergeant Torres, I'm Ethan Caldwell, State Aviation Director," Ethan said, showing his ID. "We're here to evacuate a disabled veteran trapped by the fire. Mr. Grayson, HOA security, is blocking us, citing rules and a due law 15,000 fence." He pointed at the metal barrier, now warping in the heat. Grayson saw his chance. "Officers, thank God. These guys landed this monstrosity without permission. They're trespassing, ruining our property. I'm just doing my job." Torres gave him a flat stare. "Sir, there's a wildfire and a man's life at stake. Your fence isn't the issue." He turned to Ethan. "Director, what do you need?" "Him out of our way so we can reach Thompson. He's cost us too much time." "Mr. Grayson," Torres said, his tone ice cold, "you're interfering with an emergency rescue. Step back now, or you're under arrest." Grayson's face twisted. "But the bylaws, the fence." His voice broke, frantic. "It's a due law 15,000 fence." Then, a new voice broke through. An older woman, soot-streaked and clutching a trembling dog, stepped forward from a nearby porch. "Officers, that man's been tormenting Sergeant Thompson for months. Last month, he tried to fine him because the ramp for his wheelchair clashed with the neighborhood's VYB. He's had it out for Daniel ever since he questioned Grayson's security budget at an HOA meeting." The air seemed to thicken. This wasn't just about a fence. Grayson's obstruction was personal, a vendetta against a man who dared challenge him. Ethan's gaze hardened. "Mr. Grayson, your fixation on that fence, paired with this history of harassment, isn't just reckless, it's criminal. You're not just blocking a rescue. You're targeting a man you've bullied." Torres nodded to his partner. "Cuff him." "What? Arrest me?" Grayson shrieked as handcuffs clicked. "I'm HOA security. This is an outrage." "The fence," he ranted as deputies hauled him to a cruiser, his badge glinting mockingly. With Grayson gone, Ethan turned to his team. "Lopez, Carter, let's move. Jenkins, stay with the chopper, keep comms open." They sprinted toward Thompson Street, the heat searing, smoke burning their lungs. Flames devoured a garage nearby, and Thompson's house sat at the street's end, perilously close to the fire front. Inside, they found Thompson in his Levying room, a wet cloth over his face, a duffel at his feet. Smoke filled the space, but he'd sealed most windows. "Sergeant Thompson," Ethan called. "State emergency response. We're getting you out." Thompson looked up, eyes tired but sharp. "About damn time. Thought I'd have to dig a foxhole to save my roses." Ethan cracked a smile despite the chaos. "Sorry for the holdup. Local politics. Let's roll." Lopez and Carter swiftly moved Thompson to an evacuation chair. As they carried him out, flames licked the porch's edges, the ramp Grayson had despised now in the fire's path. Back at the field, Sarah had shifted the sky beast for a clear ramp path, the roses now charred stumps. Grayson's protests echoed faintly from the cruiser. The black fence, his sacred relic, was buckling, its paint blistering a monument to his folly. Thompson was loaded aboard, and Ethan took a final look. The fire's advance, deputies securing the area, neighbors watching in shock. He climbed in, the door sealing shut. "All clear, Director," Sarah said. "Let's get Thompson to the med center." The chopper lifted, rising above the inferno. Willow Creek Meadows shrank below, its perfect lawns and ruined fence dwarfed by the fire's wrath. Ethan pictured Grayson in the cruiser, his empire of petty rules crumbling, and Thompson, safe, his quiet strength a rebuke to Grayson's bluster. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Thompson was treated for smoke inhalation but was otherwise fine, his grit unshaken. Ethan, now fully in his director role, coordinated air assets and patched communication gaps exposed by Grayson's stunt. The timberline blaze burned for 4 more days before containment, scarring the hills and appending lives. Willow Creek Meadows survived, thanks to a wind shift and tireless firefighters. Thompson's house took heavy damage but stood. The fence, though, was a twisted wreck, a fitting end to Grayson's reign. Grayson faced charges, obstruction, endangerment, and, after the neighbor's testimony and Ethan's report, harassment and abuse of authority. The DA, fueled by public outrage, pushed hard. Grayson, stripped of his title and facing lawsuits, became a pariah, his claims of protecting standards drowned by the near loss of a hero's life. The HOA, humiliated, apologized to Thompson and the state, slashing its rulebook and firing its security team. A resident council, including Thompson, took over, aiming for fairness over nitpicking. Ethan, shaken by the clash of ego and duty, used the media storm to push for change. He worked with lawmakers on Thompson's Law, a bill ensuring emergency air access and punishing obstruction. Thompson testified, his calm account of being trapped and his call for decency swaying the room. Debate raged. Property rights groups cried overreach, but Ethan's team clarified the law's focus. Saving lives, not seizing land. The bill passed, a landmark for compassion over bureaucracy. It spread to other states, with Ethan sharing the Willow Creek story to drive it home. Grayson was convicted, sentenced to jail, fines, and, ironically, service with veteran aid groups. The fence was replaced with a low, practical barrier and a helipad named Thompson's Landing. Willow Creek began to heal. Neighbors bonded, raising funds for Fire vs. Tims with Thompson as the star. HOA meetings turned collaborative, focused on community, not control. Ethan vs. cited Thompson, sharing beers on his rebuilt porch, its ramp now both functional and stylish. "Some folks get drunk on their own power," Thompson mused, eyeing the hills. "Forget what matters." That day, October 12, 2024, under a smoky dusk stayed with Ethan. Grayson's defiance, Thompson's courage, Sarah's skillet was a microcosm of human nature, raw and unfiltered. The sky beast's roar, once a knot of fear, now hummed with purpose. A promise that the skies would stay open for those in need, no fence too sacred to stand in the way. So what do you think? Was Grayson just a misguided rule follower, or was his vendetta against Thompson a deliberate act of malice? Should HOA powers be curbed to prevent this kind of abuse, or do communities need strict rules to function? And what about Ethan? Did he handle it right, or should he have physically removed Grayson sooner? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll make you think twice about the world around you.